Hi, Johannes. Morning.
Hi, Tom. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Max. Morning.
Hi.
And Riley has a meeting conflict this morning, so I'll help him host today's community meeting. Maybe we can wait 2 more minutes, and then we can start. Could everyone help add your name to the agenda attendee list? And if there's any topics, feel free to add it to the agenda list too. Thanks. I think we can start. Yeah. For everyone's information, Riley will not join for today's meeting because he has a conflict this morning, and yeah, I will help him host today's meeting. Yeah, feel free to add your topics to the agenda list. And let's get started. Yeah, I think the first item in the agenda is the login API update. Yeah. Mark and Karen also both are in a meeting, and they are working on the draft and prototype in the last few weeks. And I think in the last week, there's progress. And would you mind give us an update about your planning or for the login API for OpenTelemetry C++?
For sure, yeah. So last week, Karen and I, we made an initial commit with the API, and we made that to a private repository just locally for our AWS team. And so we got some reviews from I think you had access to it, Tom and Max, and we had some comments on it. So we made a couple of changes, and right now it's in a good position to be like committed upstream so everyone can see it. But we still need a bit of confirmation from our manager about that. So by the end of this week, it should be committed upstream so you guys can see. And in terms of other progress, Karen, she's been working on the exporter and processor component of it. So she has a working OStream exporter, and I'm working on the logger SDK and the logger provider SDK component, where I'm still writing up a design draft on that, but I'll have some example code probably by the next C++ SIG meeting on Monday.
Okay, so you're getting permission to publish your current draft and the prototype API PR, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. And okay, any questions on this? Okay, so I'm sharing my screen, so let's move to the next item.
Yeah, so this is basically for me. I mean, just not this PR. I was just hey, I'm audible, right? Hey Tom, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so basically this just wanted to understand on what's the fate or the status of this PR. I mean, it was probably raised before I really started being active in this group, and just going through the review comments, I really don't see anybody objecting to that. But I just wanted to understand, because right now I've been working on the HTTP API, and the things could have been different had we had a lib event async design API there in the. So we just wanted to understand. I mean, the people who were there earlier as part of the review. I mean, I definitely see Max and Johan's there. So is it something that we are not going to proceed further, or is something still under discussion?
I can say a few words to that. And that was done quite a while ago. And the intention was to use lib event for basically timing in our batch spam processor, and also for HTTP stuff.
Yes.
That got put aside then partly because Ryan left the OpenDynamics C++ project, or he did stop to contribute. And I think this PR would basically be ready to be merged. I also at some point I spent some time working on that, but what's currently failing is in the CI workflow. So I think checking out and compiling lib event via the Bazel make system doesn't work.
So we only need to rebase this one to the latest and say if the build a CI passed, and then it is ready for merging, right?
Yes, I'm afraid there will be some work necessary on the CI to get that working.
So I think,
if Lalit, if you want to look into that and work on that, that would be great.
Sure. I just wanted to understand whether it was just that we didn't have enough. I mean, somebody has to spend the efforts to really make it done, right? So then I think I can just look into that.
I have some feedback on this. I love it. I think if you're trying to tie this to the HTTP client, so pretty much we have a full featured working HTTP client that we can contribute today that works. And yes, we need to refactor the API. There were comments about how. Then there's lib event, which practically may be a better option, which requires a bit more work. Then you would need to figure out how to wire this for all the corresponding platforms that we already support in the working HTTP client. So what I'm trying to say is that this should probably be two parallel tracks. And I'd say let's go with something that gives us the reward first, which is the working HTTP client, and then see how to merge the lib event. And if it works, use that instead. And my comment was that for some reason Chromium browser doesn't use it on Windows. I don't know what the practical reason for that. It could be anything related to builds or other issues. Like it might be a best option for POSIX OS, it may not be the best one for Windows. So it's like as a fallback plan, maybe you will end up having to use libevent on POSIX, but retain the existing like HTTP client implementation that we can contribute for Windows, and then we have the full set. So it's like 2 tracks and then some sort of conversion. You see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I'm not in principle against what Ryan was proposing, and I think it would make sense to eventually integrate.
Got it. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, the libevent thing is interesting also in connection with the HTTP stuff, because libevent basically includes a minimal HTTP client.
Yes.
With itself, I'm not sure how usable it is, but I just saw it is there. So
yes, it is there. It is there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, I agree with Max. There are 2 different tracks. I mean, as of now, the way we are going for the HTTP API, I mean, that's not going to change. But definitely we'll start looking into this also. I mean,
yeah, because merging the libevent stuff would be nice, not just for the HTTP stuff, but also for other, like, for example, the batch processor where we use timing, where now we just use sleep statements.
yes.
I mean, an event-based approach would be much more solid there.
Yeah, I'm curious on which exporter, depending on this async network. I think HTTP is it more common? Or do you know the knowledge?
So which exporter? So basically any network communication, file-based, event-based communication, we can leverage the lib event library for any of the exporters. I mean, in case they need a networking functionality or file reading functionality, instead of waiting for file to read the file from the disk IO, we can use the lib event, the event loop approach, which basically is brought by lib event. So we can leverage this design approach to implement in our exporters and even our SDKs.
Okay, I see. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, maybe you can assign. Now I think you can assign this PR to you to follow up. Yeah, I think you are approver. Yeah. Okay, that's this one. So, and more questions on this PR?
No, that's thanks.
Okay, let's move to the next one. The next one is Tracer SDK doesn't use library name.
Yeah, I put that there. It might be a stupid question, but inside this file, if you look at line number 14 and 15, the 2 parameters for this function are the library name and library version. But when you create the tracer instance, it doesn't use that anywhere. So I'm wondering if like it's a future intent to include that, but it's just not implemented right now.
Yeah, I think that should be on to-do, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool,
yeah,
thanks.
I mean, I also can say a few words to this. That is a future intent, and basically that will go hand in hand when we support kind of enhanced configuration possibilities for the SDK. Because the idea here is, and that's I think that's the same for the meter provider. That probably will be the same for the logging or logger provider. That you say, yeah, you pass the library name and library version there, and that via some configuration option you can disable, like for example, tracing for certain libraries. For example, that you say, okay, for I don't know MongoDB, I don't want to trace, and then this get tracer function for the MongoDB library name would return like a loop tracer, like a no-op tracer. That is the idea behind those parameters, and that will be implemented together like when we support some configuration options that will also allow the user basically to configure, okay, for this library, I want to use tracing, and for those libraries, I don't want to use tracing.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Johannes. And any more topics as the agenda?
There's been a topic for CDLib PR. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to that. I'll try to refresh the PR for the next SIG meeting.
Which PR do you mean, Max?
We discussed it briefly the last week. It's about adding ability to switch between no-std classes and standard library at compile time.
Okay.
So namespace remains the same. The way how we expose interfaces remains the same. But when the binary is produced, it just aliases the classes to the standard implementation, which may be of benefit for statically linked or header-only implementations of the SDK. It's just there's a bit of planning needed for testing as well to make sure that in both parts all the tests pass. And I want to clean this up and refresh before the next SIG meeting. I'll do that.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Without more topics, I think we can move to the active PRs and issues. Yeah. And just opened in the last week. I think this one build gRPC with CMake for OTLP exporter. Yes. Yeah, there is an issue that the PR uses some new CMake functionality, which I think that Johannes mentioned only available in 3.14 and above. And yeah, if we want to, which is HTTP fetch, which fetches the gRPC repo from GitHub, I think. But if we want to take this PR, it means we need to update the global minimum CMake requirement to at least 3.14. But I think this version is quite new, right? If we update it, maybe could it cause compatibility issue? Yeah, like the default CMake I installed in my Ubuntu 18.04, which is 3.10, I think. Which means if I clone it on my Ubuntu system, I can't build OpenTelemetry C++ if we upgrade it. Or is this a concern? I mean, to new CMake version?
We can definitely download and build it from source. The issue is that it's going to add some time to CI loop.
Yeah, I think the PR, there are other suggestions like clone gRPC as sub-module, which then we don't need download the network at a runtime and build time.
Is it already, like, my understanding of some modules was that you just had a drop-in like source, right? Or is there a pre-built version? Because if we just drop the source, we still need a new CMake, or do we not need one? Actually, I see what you're saying. So we won't need the newer CMake then, right?
Yeah, because that's only for the download functionality, not for build.
Right. I'm sure this can be handled differently. Let me take a look.
Okay.
There's definitely many ways to handle downloads, right? Other than upgrading the CMake.
I think we are doing it in our configuration script, downloading a git clone and then compiling it. I mean, I think we are doing for some libraries. Probably we could have done the same way for this also.
By the way, I have seen fairly good snappy results for downloading and building CMake from source using Google Ninja. You can fetch CMake, then use Google Ninja, and it's like less than a minute. So if needed, I can contribute a script for that.
Do you mean download the repo as a zip file?
Clone CMake, build it with Ninja. With Ninja, it's much faster than with the regular Make, and use the installed new latest CMake. That's another option. There are so many ways out of that stuff.
Does that rely on Ninja, or because the user can use other?
The only reason why I suggested Ninja is regular CMake build is slow. If you just build configure make install, it's slow. If you do the configuration with Ninja and then build with Ninja, it is fast. That's just an observation. Ninja is actually generally much faster. So Ccache plus Ninja is a perfect combo to speed up our CI build loop times. So since many build systems, Android, for example, NDK by default now uses Ninja, and Chromium uses Ninja, and I tried it out, and it's gonna add a minute of build time to CI loop if we fetch the CMake from source and build it. About a minute, maybe 2 minutes.
Okay, I think Max, you are going to take a look at this PR more, right? And
yeah, let me take a look. Maybe there's a better, easier option. Let me take a look.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, this one is still pending. So yeah, let's see, and move to the next. Next one, I think next one comes from Lalit, the abstract HTTP interface. Any outstanding blocker here, or almost ready for merging?
So not really. I think there was few comments which I have replied to that. Probably you guys can just look into that and see if there is still something pending.
I just posted some review comments on that like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Let me check.
Ago, but it looks pretty good. So I think that is very close to being ready to merge. It's only some smaller minor nits added.
Okay.
I'm not sure why lint comments are coming. I think the format tool should have taken care of it. Probably let me check.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, let me check.
Okay, thanks. So the last one, I think this is a implementation of the HTTP API.
Yeah. So basically, I just use one header only HTTP cross-platform HTTP library for implementing the abstract API. So this will change because some of the changes are there right now based on the review comments on the API. So probably I have to do some changes here.
So this library is imported from some other repo.
So no, so the HTTP client, so it has two header files. One is the HTTP lib.h, which is basically coming from the other repo. It's a single header file. Yeah, this one, the last one.
You mean this one?
Can you check the license of it? What's the license?
The license? Yeah, just load diff.
This does matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like we specifically changed the license of our TBD to be released Microsoft source code to Apache license 2, just to make sure it's easier to borrow for the OpenTelemetry project. Also, does it support HTTPS?
Yes.
Okay. So
think,
does
yeah,
it
yes.
do it through like libcurl or other library?
No,
underneath?
this has its own, like I need to check the HTTPS implementation, but it
Well,
does not have any dependency. I need to check how it is doing,
All right.
but I haven't really used that as of now.
Obviously, I wouldn't trust it as much as I trust
Yeah,
the other
so
stuff that
it's-
we run on billions of devices. But
it's
anyways,
okay. For this file,
It's
my
OpenSSL. Yeah, it uses OpenSSL, I think. So probably not libcurl, directly the SSL library.
I think it uses broadly, I saw somewhere. So I guess you have to compile this with special OpenSSL flag with SSL flags. So it uses
Okay.
SSL, I think. And also we should definitely move this to like the third-party folder.
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So in general, I do have some concerns about it. It might be good for a start, like like in test or something, and move it to third party. And yeah, just the license of it is different than what we usually consume. Can you consume it from the mainline repo, like instead of including it in ours, or did you have to make modifications to it?
No, there's no modification.
I see.
You can directly use it.
Maybe then. Anyways, let's take it offline.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
It's also with Max. I mean, I didn't. I will have a look at this once the interface is merged.
Yes.
So I definitely think it's a good start for sure using that. But then for real production use cases, maybe we might look into other HTTP implementations.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is, I think, almost 10K length header file, which seems quite big. And after we compile this file, I think maybe our coverage script will complain because the whole file is not covered. Will that be an issue?
Good point. Yeah, we may have to see if we can way to ignore to remove this file from the coverage. I'm not sure how.
I mean, the coverage should be more like the third-party folder. So once this is moved into the third-party folder, the coverage should not consider this. And if so, then we should change the gconf configuration.
I'm a bit skeptical about it because judging by the amount of subtle bugs across different net versions, for example, in the last 3 years, I can comfortably tell that this code is probably not addressing all of the possible situations, especially on a negative path, when connection is reset, or when the library is unable to create a handle, all this fun and tricky stuff. Not the perfect case when everything works and we get 200 OK, but the other corner cases. And that's the minefield. I have to be very careful about it in production. Might work well for perfect environment, might work well for the test environment.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we completed all the outstanding PRs opened in this repo. Maybe we can take a look at the issues.
Hey, I have Tom. Sorry, I think can you just go to pull requests?
Okay.
I have one pull request. Probably, Johan. Maybe if you can just look into that. If you have some suggestions for supporting adding links to the span.
Okay, this one. Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Yes.
I just put some. Yeah, just go through that, and if you have some suggestions to make it better, I think it would be good. Yeah.
I will have a look at that. Yeah. Usually, when we it's good to bring this up because usually when reviewing Adobe reviews, we don't like review draft PRs because we think that's still kind of work in progress and we're waiting. So it's good to bring, it's good to bring that up in the meeting because then I know, okay, you want
sure.
advice
Yeah.
on that. So I will give that a review.
Sure. Yeah, thanks.
The status is still draft, and I saw the CI status it failed. Could that be an issue?
I'll check that. I think that's okay. I think that's the. I'll check that probably why it is failing, but I think that some other files got because of I think merge conflict. I probably put some other files, the merge conflict files, which I removed it. I'm not sure why it is still showing.
Yeah, it started to fail after this merge commit. Yeah. Okay, so you are going to update it, and then we'll review this PR. Okay, and also don't forget to remove the draft tag.
Yeah.
I think draft it's okay, but you just have to make sure you kind of call out people and say you want to review, because otherwise they won't look at draft PRs. So
yeah, I just put it there probably, but I think it being a draft, I think it didn't really go. Yeah.
Usually I saw you put some keyword like with in progress in the title, and for such PR usually I ignore to take a look. Okay, so move to active issues. Opened in the last 7 days, rename. Okay, this rename span count to span reference. I think I opened it in the last week. I think there's someone who claimed to do this, but there's no update for this PR a few days ago. So probably I will ping this PR, and this should not be a big change. Just a trivial, mostly string replacing, and take care of some maybe there are some edge cases like not strictly it could be two words, right? So there are some cases, I saw some cases not a direct string replacement. So I'll ping this issue. Add span connection limit. Yeah, this one was from Lanet. This also was from recent spec update, right?
Yes, there are some limits added to number of attributes and.
Okay. Okay. This one that sounds like a big change, right? Maybe just change some numbers in the constructor, or is it? Maybe we can mark it as first good issue or something like that. So help people to pick up this kind of issue.
I think
how do you think?
That would be a good first issue. I think it would be some validation on SDK side.
Okay. What kind of validation do you mean?
I mean, it's actually not trivial to us, because with our recordable interface, we don't keep track about how many attributes were added already to the span. So this
I see.
Have to be enforced on exporter side.
But is this also something that collector would have to enforce anyway? Imagine if we use whatever to be exporter and there is a real collector. Collector still has to do all this validation anyway. I mean, yeah, it's a good first issue.
Okay.
Just like imagine a case where a hacker crafts a packet which contains more than 1,000 records, right? Like anybody can do that, right? And somebody can download the open source SDK and adjust the limits, valid, and adjust the packet, right? So from that perspective, collector must enforce the limit based on SPAD. So then what if we don't? If we don't, fine, we're crafting another packet. We allow the user to fall into trap. We allow the event to fail. And it depends on how exporter works, whether it gets the response code or not, or we bubble up the response or somehow indicate in the log that a request has been rejected, for example. So what? Yes, we didn't enforce, but collector must. You see what I'm saying? So from that perspective, it's probably a bit of lower priority for us to solve, for us to enforce, because it must be enforced by server anyways. Data must be always validated on server.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Also looking on the spec wording here, that is a may and not a must. So that is not strictly required by the spec. So that's
because it must be enforced by server, I guess. if it comes to the point where there's some reasonable limit, maybe because of the storage system, which is possible, it must most likely must be enforced by server and may be enforced by SDK. So to us, it's a good first issue.
Mm.
Okay, so sounds like we can mark it as first good issue. And yeah, this requires to read the spec thoroughly to understand it.
Yeah, I think it's a good first issue, and I think it's not a bug.
Okay. Okay, I will try to add the label to this one. Currently, I don't sign in here, so I can't make any change. So I will follow up this after the meeting. So after this, there's another one from Lalit, I think also from spec update.
Yeah, that's a small one. I think it's just dependent on the another PR which I've raised. So probably once that is done, this can be done by.
Okay, this needs to be fixed. Is 319 on also open, or it is in progress? Let's see.
This is the same one which the PR which is in the draft state.
That is the issue, and there's a related PR that Lalit is working on currently.
Okay.
Yes. Hey, so this is the real PR. I think this was got confused. This is the actual PR which I want Johan to review.
This looks a little different. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Okay. Let's move to, I think there's the last one. This one comes from Karen. I think this issue. Karen, are you there? Do you want to elaborate this a little more?
Yeah, so when I was doing the PR to move key value iterable and the related key value iterable view class from trace to common, Layla and you as well made a comment that all of the scope resolutions should be consistent and or maybe some generic short form, what do you call it? Well, namespaces should be added as well for simplicity. So I filed a separate PR or a separate issue for that to possibly be addressed later.
Okay, sounds like this is just a namespace renaming right to be consistent.
I think it might require going into. I'm not sure, but I like because some of them are prefaced with open telemetry and some of them aren't. I'm not sure if there's a bigger change there other than just adding like using like lines or like adding aliases for namespaces. I think like it could have like would the build files need to be changed as well? I'm not super sure on that.
Okay, so it is based on this comment. Okay. Okay, I see. I think the comment from Lalit, can you take a look at this issue and probably comment the
Yes, sure.
Yeah, namespace.
Yeah.
Scope
I mean,
resolution.
I think just like somewhere we are using the short form aliases and somewhere we are using the complete namespace. So need to be consistent across all the files which in our code base.
I see. Yeah, probably we can do it. Clean up PR to make it consistent. Yeah. Okay.
So that's only for the CPP file, right? For headers, we would typically use the full scope. Because what if there is another library where it's also using a trace or common, and we would get a namespace clash? So for CPP, it really depends. The answer depends. For headers, we should use complete namespace path, like scope.
This sounds some good suggestion. So we usually don't use type like namespace alias in header file, or sounds like a good suggestion to me. Yeah.
It's like we can also check. I think this is because when somebody codes a CPP file, they know that this is self-contained unit, and they do using whatever, and then it's alias. They would use a short namespace, whatever. And there's no clash, there's no conflict because it's a isolated unit. You're not adding any random language to it anymore. In other cases, people are not so sure because there's maybe a big other external library included, and then you'd use more complete scoping declaration here, like a full path.
Yeah, good point.
We need to clean it. Yes, I agree that maybe some consistency would be nice.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks. So I think we just went through all the PRs and issues. So is there any other topics we want to discuss here? If no topics, I think, yeah, thanks everyone. We will meet in the next meeting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.